push is underway in Illinois to legalize sex work. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop here each and every weekday morning, and you can get this and other headlines at thecentersquare.com. And the headline is, Democrats, activists push to decriminalize sex work in the land of Lincoln. So what's happening here? We've heard rumblings about this for quite some time. Even earlier this year, I believe, there was a news conference where somebody announced that they hoped to work towards essentially decriminalizing sex work, prostitution. But last week, we got a little bit of a glimpse of what to expect with a law that some are wanting to advance that did pass both chambers, that redefines certain types of sex work crimes to maybe soften the language up a bit. But here is State Senator Karina Villa talking about a measure she put in front of a Senate committee before it ended up getting on the Senate floor and passing last week.
This bill is not the decrim bill. That's a different bill that will be presented at a different time. This bill does three different things. It requires all law enforcement agencies to create and adopt policies prohibiting officers from having sex with suspects while investigating prostitution. Also, prostitution hasn't been a felony in Illinois for over 10 years, so it would require the Illinois State Police, local law enforcement, and circuit court clerks to automatically seal all prior arrests and court records related to felony prostitution charges by January 1st, 2028. The clerks are okay with that. Law enforcement is okay with all of this. And finally, it would update the phrases juvenile prostitution, minor engaged in prostitution, and prostitute to commercial sexual exploitation of a child, sexually exploited child, and person engaged in sex. These changes don't affect any arrest charges, prosecution, conviction, or sentences.
And then you've got on the House floor, when this was brought up, State Representative Will Guzzardi wanting to talk more about this issue, but clearly being cut off by the chair in front of the House, acting Speaker Jay Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have another historic opportunity before us, members of the General Assembly, to move an effective date from January 1st to July 1st. I hope you'll join me in making history by this 6-month effective date change. This is, as I say, a small change to a bill that we passed several months ago pertaining to prostitution. It was a bill that changed some names of offenses throughout the statute. It's a bill that seals some former felony offenses, and it's a bill that requires law enforcement to make agreements about how they investigate prostitution. This bill is negotiated and agreed to by law enforcement, by the courts, by the advocates for who oppose sexual trafficking. It's an agreed bill with all stakeholders, and the amendment before us simply moves the effect.
On this question, Leader Windhorst.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the motion, to members on our side, this is a minor change with the amendment. Review your vote and vote accordingly.
Representative Guzzardi to close.
I have a lot more to say, but I'll urge and I vote.
So again, all that does is it just changes some definitions, puts more requirements on police to not be bad actors, and a variety of other things, but dealing with prostitution, sex work. But then yesterday, Equality Illinois, several activists, and also Will Guzzardi and other state legislators, they held a news conference in Chicago talking about how they want to legalize or decriminalize sex work. And ultimately what you have is this effort would bring about a sex worker bill of rights. It would change the law in a variety of ways. But how is this going to go, right? We're in a new General Assembly. The bill has not yet been filed. We'll see those details when they do get filed, but they're already out in front of it promoting this idea to decriminalize sex work. One comment here from Raina Ortiz with the group called Sex Worker Advisory Group. They said that the bill is a monumental step forward in recognizing the rights, safety, and humanity of sex workers. They say, quote, by passing this legislation, we will make Illinois a safer place for everyone, especially the most vulnerable in our communities. And even Will Gazzardi said full decriminalization of adult consensual sex work is proven to keep workers safe. They say it's a policy that respects everyone's rights to make private choices about their bodies while freeing up law enforcement to focus on traffickers and violent abusers. Now, it'll be interesting to hear the debate when this measure does ultimately come up in the House and the Senate committees. So we'll be watching that closely, all right? But a controversial issue, no question about it. Redefining prostitute to be persons engaged in sex work, that could be on the governor's desk soon. And then we'll see what happens with this proposal to try to decriminalize sex work. All right, so stay up on top of it with us at thecentersquare.com and get the headlines in your inbox. Plus, subscribe to Illinois in Focus Daily with America's Talking Network and get the podcast where you get podcasts. This is Illinois in Focus Daily.